Hello Automators, thanks for tuning in again. I've never had to do this before, but I have to give you a new Google Home and Google Assistant updates and new features, and that's based on the fact that CES 2019 is going on right now, and Google is just announcing all kinds of things left, right, and center, and their partners are doing the same as well. So let's get started. Let's do all the latest news, features, updates, and new integrations that Google is announcing at CES. Now there is a ton to go through, so I'm going to go as fast as I can with all this stuff. But what we saw recently was Google putting their Google Assistant into Siri shortcuts, giving you the ability to do that, and then Apple basically nerfing that and forcing you to now go into the Google Assistant app. Well, Google's fighting back. They're putting the Assistant right into Google Maps inside the application. So that's going to show up for anyone who has Google Maps. You're going to be able to get directions, things like that, send messages to friends. All the stuff you'd think would work with Google Maps will very shortly. Another feature that's been debuted there, and it's not quite ready, but auto punctuation here is being created for any messages you send back and forth. So when you send a message through broadcast, or you return a message through broadcast, or you use Google Assistant on your phone to send messages, it's going to punctuate it for you. So that's going to help a lot of people with a lot of different grammar things. And I'm happy to see that, just because visually then people start to see the correct punctuation on things. Now, another thing that was shown is the immediate translation capability, and the demo was shown on a Google Home Hub, but it's obviously going to be capable in a lot of different ways. So you can get translation on the fly like we've seen in some of the earbuds that Google had put out previously, but now on a display with visual assistance as well when we're talking about a Google Home Hub or a Lenovo Smart Display. Another thing we saw was the ability to basically get your boarding passes through Google Assistant. Now, obviously that is going to start in the US in just some, specific flights or specific carriers, but it will expand over time. The other thing that Google said they're doing is they're adding the Assistant to more devices when they're locked. So, more tablets, more phones, those types of devices are going to be able to access the Google Assistant. And as I move into some of the integration discussion here and all the products that Google has been integrated with, they're kind of the older products. That's one of the things to talk about. I mean, Google has said that they now have 1 billion devices out there with the Google Assistant on board, and that's an incredible number. And to put that in perspective, Amazon has around 100 million. So 10 to 1 Google Assistant devices to Amazon's voice assistant devices. That's amazing, actually, when you think about the power of Amazon and their ability to sell products over the world. I think what that says a lot is that, Google has been doing well partnering with certain companies, and they've been selling a lot of devices. And on the mobile front, that's how important having their own phone was to Google's success. So, they're able to put out the Pixel, the Pixel 2, the Pixel 3, you look all the way back to the Nexus devices, and now you see LG's different set of devices, the OnePlus, and most of the Android devices that we're seeing from Huawei and some of these other makers of phones with Android on board. One of the most impressive things at CES is what they're calling Google Assistant gadgets. And I'm going to take a little time to explain this. So I talked about this in my smart home predictions, that Google would basically create their own platform for smart home makers to live within and build devices on and make it more accessible. And they have me thinking about what I could create for the Google Assistant, because what we saw was an e-ink display, and that's what they're calling their first Google Assistant gadget. And so what they're saying is Google Assistant is actually the platform, and that will do the higher level computing, and you can build a very, very tiny, simple device. So they actually had that e-ink display that was displaying different information from different services and different sources. What they also had was a button, a literal 3D printed button with some electronics basically inside for a button, and that had to be connected, and that would actually be able to trigger assistant action. So that's very, very impressive stuff. So continuing down the integration list, Samsung TVs will have Google Assistant on board here in 2019. That's a big jump for Google Assistant. Now Bixby is going to be front and center on those TVs, but Google Assistant is going to have a lot of capabilities there as well. Another one of our big smart home makers, Philips Hue, they put out their own series of products here. You know, they have some more outdoor products for us, but ultimately what they did with the Google Assistant is those slow wake and kind of good night light functions where you can spread out the dimming of a light over, say, 30 minutes, or the increasing of a light when you're waking up over 30 minutes. Well, those will be given to Google Assistant as voice commands here. So you're going to be able to basically wake up the sun, and you're going to be able to schedule that with your Google Assistant. So I think that says routine integration, and that's actually something that I will look forward to. It was reaffirmed again that Sonos One and Sonos Beam will have Google Assistant here in 2019. I got the sense that the second quarter was kind of what they were talking about, at least giving an updated timeline by then. We spoke about Samsung TVs, but Samsung has also been working to integrate with their voice assistant Bixby. They've been working to integrate things like Google Maps and the Google Play suite of products or services there. So that says a lot. And the other thing that I found really interesting was they were talking about Gmail integration. So I really like to hear that. I want to hear more of that from Google actually around email integration. One last integration on an existing product called the Orbit Beehive. So this is kind of a specific thing, but that will now get Google Assistant, whereas it used to just have the Amazon Voice Assistant on board there. Now moving on to the new products, and there are a lot of new products. Some of these we've seen before, but they haven't really been released. So I'll give you an example, and I'm going to start in the kitchen, where I think lots of makers, and I kind of talked about this in my predictions video, lots of makers are looking to the kitchen as the next place to put their device. So KitchenAid has a smart display for around $200 to $300. They're calling it water jet resistant, so it's intended to be a little more rugged, I think, in your kitchen. On top of that, we saw a giant 27-inch smart display with Google Assistant on board that replaces your fume hood. This was by GE. Now, GE also, announced some more of their C by GE color bulbs, but we'll get to those in a bit. But this giant display sitting and basically replacing your fume hood in front of you, in front of the oven, it's running between $1,200 and $1,400 US. A couple of what I'll call portable kitchen appliances. The Instant Pot, we have an Instant Pot here in our home. We don't have the Wi-Fi version, and it will get Google Assistant updates here, or Google Assistant integration. And that's a big jump, actually. I really like the Instant Pot. It makes a lot of great meals for us here. The Gourmia 11-in-1 multi-cooker, again, another portable thing you're not going to have plugged in all the time, but that has Google Assistant integration coming to it. So those products right there, we're going to see, I think, the first interaction of plugging in a device, having it connect, and then using your voice assistant. And what will really matter there to me, how long does it take to get that set up? An app I wanted to tell you about that Google has been highlighting a little bit is called Init. And Init is basically a meal planner, and it's there to help you if you have kind of certain dietary restrictions. Well, I do, people in my family do. For example, I have to eat gluten-free. And so what that means is Init, I tell them that preference, and they give me recommendations based on that. Now, I can actually use my Google Assistant or my Google Smart Display, my Google Home Hub, or the Lenovo Smart Display to talk to Init, and I just have to enable that through the mobile application, basically connect my Google account, and I'm good to go. So you get those recommendations, and you can have them show up on your smart display, full videos, everything that you need to prepare a meal. Simple Human unveiled a $350 to $400 smart mirror with the Google Assistant on board. It has a speaker, it has lights, it basically will make you look beautiful on its own. So, that's a pretty impressive device, but that's a big price tag as well. Capstone Connected also has created a smart mirror. Now, what I'm being told about that is it's capable of actually downloading, interacting with the Google Play Store, downloading apps, and is a touchscreen as well as a smart mirror, having the Google Assistant on board. And really, it has all those great functions. So I don't know, do I need a tablet anymore? I've got a smart mirror. I can look at myself while I play games, I guess. But anyways, moving on. Kohler has a whole suite of smart home products for your bathroom. So as we go through there, they have a bathtub connected, or what they call an intelligent toilet. They have a 3-piece vanity set, and they also have a mirror and then smart lights for inside your bathroom as well. So all of those devices, all with Google Assistant actions or connectivity basically. The last one in the bathroom, the Hue by Moen, is a smart shower with either Google Assistant or Amazon's voice assistant ability. So you're going to be able to essentially control the water in a lot of different ways here with a Moen faucet in your shower. Moving on to the bedroom, and there's really only one product I'll say that's really targeted towards that, and it's actually from Lenovo here. So we have the big Lenovo smart display, but what they've also created is essentially a Google Assistant powered bedside clock, and it's intended to go battle the Echo Spot, and I think it's even intended a little bit to battle the Google Home Hub here. So it's just a small clock faces, not full Google Assistant integration, so it's not meant to do everything, but it has the Google Assistant on board, and it's meant to be a bedside clock around the $80 US mark. In your living room or anywhere you're putting big speakers, we have the Marley Get Together Mini speaker, and it's a portable battery powered speaker that you can go take around with the Google Assistant on board. It's for $200 US. Nice, standard what we see from Marley all the time, the $200, range, really great speaker quality, and that bamboo front to this speaker is really nice. It looks really nice, and that's what we've come to expect from Marley speakers in general. So with the Google Assistant on board, that's obviously a big bonus. Now on top of that, we also saw a 48-watt soundbar from Klipsch with the ability to have either Google Assistant or Amazon's voice assistant on board, and the Citation series from Harman Kardon was expanded as well. Now each of those products has the Google Assistant on board naturally. What they were also given is a firmware update to go and get AirPlay 2 connectivity here. So Apple users are happy about that as well. Things that can go basically anywhere in your home. Thermostats here, the Daikin HVAC systems, they have a Daikin 1 Plus thermostat with Google Assistant or Amazon's voice assistant integration as well. So we're seeing new makers of smart home thermostats show up with Google Assistant integration. And on top of that, like I talked about a little bit earlier, C by GE, they now have multicolor bulbs, many different styles, and then they also have a multicolor light strip as well. We also saw from TP-Link, and they were a little bit coy about this, a $50 smart home indoor camera. It's essentially a 1080p camera with all the bells and whistles that you would expect. Now $50, pretty cheap actually. That's one of the lower level costs here in the market. They also released a smart home switch with what they say an assistant, a voice assistant on board. They said it would be Amazon's or Google's. Now, what I've seen, and the reason I'm putting it here, is TP-Link pretty much has partnered with Google very well over time. And so I'm expecting it to be the Google Assistant, but there's no statement of that. That you can use those switches as intercoms actually. So that's probably the most interesting piece of those. They have lots of detection capability, lots of good functions, but they also are a direct intercom. So if you have a couple, you can just have an intercom. Other things that we've seen, IKEA Tradfri has a new set of smart home blinds that they're selling, or they're about to sell in Europe for 99 euros. So this isn't actually something based in CES, but it's just something that has come up here very recently with Google Assistant integration, obviously on all of the Tradfri or trade-free products from IKEA. Now, another thing at CES, the current smart wall outlet, it measures what's going through the device for power consumption and will actually, and I haven't seen this, it will make determinations or suggestions to you of what you should shut off. So Google would also like to move outside the home and make sure that the Google Assistant integration is there, as well as the Google Assistant is there with you. So a couple of these products, and these might be the first ones I go get, you'll remember the Rove Viva, which had Amazon's voice assistant on board likely, and now there is the Rove Bolt, and it's a $60 or $50 component here with the Google Assistant on board. It plugs into your cigarette lighter or the 12 volt outlet there in your car. And obviously it has the ability to connect through Bluetooth, and it has the ability to use your phone's internet connection to go and utilize the Google Assistant. The Rove Bolt also has a couple of ports for, power connections, and they also have an aux out port essentially for connection to your stereo that way as well. Now on the other side of the fence, the JBL Link Drive is another Google Assistant integrated product. So there's actually Google Assistant on board. It plugs into that same 12 volt, doesn't have the charging ports, but what it does have is noise canceling capability and the ability to actually turn down your stereo while it's Bluetooth connected, so that as you're issuing commands, it's not too loud in your car. So some real detail, or paying attention to details, I think, with the JBL Link Drive. So just outside your door here, Google has also partnered with a number of different makers here. OneLink has a new smart doorbell basically that they put out. As you ring the doorbell, it goes out over the smoke alarms you have in your home that are OneLink as well. We've also seen TP-Link with their suite of products that they released. They have a 2K HDR smart video camera there, and that's a pretty high rate, and it's just a wired camera as well. Now we'll get to an outdoor camera here in a second, but the Maximus, it's called, from Kuna, is a dual doorbell that has either Google Assistant or Amazon's voice assistant on board, and it has the two cameras like I mentioned, one that's basically intended to look down at the packages that have been left on your doorstep, and then one to look forward. So a little bit of a different design there, and I'll tell you, from the RemoCam I have in my house, that little down angled camera is very powerful actually. Now, like I talked about outdoors, TP-Link has an outdoor, totally wire-free camera that is intended to work for up to 6 months because it goes into a low power state, has motion detection, and it's low power. They also have what they're calling an IP65, so a water-resistant outdoor plug, has dual plugs on it. As you're out and about, the Vuzix Blade smart glasses remind us all a little bit about Google Glass, but what they do is they display photos, they display video, and they also take photos and video, and they can also play into some connected headsets. So something while you're out and about there. On top of that, Jabra has a new, they're calling them the Elite 65H wireless headphones here. They're noise canceling, and what's also amazing about those is they can have Siri, Amazon's voice assistant, or the Google Assistant, and you have to enable the interaction with them, and once you enable them, your wake word becomes Assistant. So there you go, guys. That is an absolute ton from Google and their partners Obviously, I've got a bunch of these to do from CES. Amazon hasn't exactly been quiet, Apple hasn't been quiet, and Samsung's been blasting things out there that have been pretty neat actually. And then you have all the other smart home makers, so we have to talk about those. I have to get 4 or 5 of these videos out, so bear with me guys as we go through all of the latest from CES 2019. You won't need to go spend hours searching the internet. Just spend some time here with me, listening to me talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of automation. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.